Once upon a time, in a small village between green hills and blue rivers, there was a boy named Iden. He was kind, always smiling, and loved by everyone. His laughter was like music, and his heart was full of dreams. But one day, something strange happened. Iden woke up feeling tired. His arms and legs felt heavy, like stones. His mother, Lily, touched his forehead. "You don't have a fever," she said softly. "Maybe you are just tired." Iden smiled weakly. Maybe. He thought it would get better. But each day, he felt weaker. Soon, he couldn't run with his friends. Then, he found it hard to walk. His father, Thomas, took him to the village doctor. The doctor checked him carefully. "This is strange," he said. "His body is fine, but something is making him weak." Days turned into weeks. Iden stayed in bed. He watched the sky through the window, wondering if he would ever run again. His mother sat beside him every day, holding his hand. "You are strong, my son," she whispered. "You will get better." One evening, Aiden's best friend, Mia, visited him. She brought a small bird that she had found. Its wing was broken. "Look," she said. "It cannot fly now, but one day, it will." Aiden touched the bird gently. "How do you know?" he asked. "Because it wants to fly," Mia said. "Just like you want to walk again." Aiden smiled, but deep inside fear grew. What if he never got better? His parents took him to many doctors. Some gave him medicines, others gave him hope, but nothing changed. Aiden's strength faded more and more. One night, he woke up and saw his mother crying in the next room. His father held her close. "We can't lose hope," Thomas said. "But he is getting worse," Lily whispered. Aiden closed his eyes. He didn't want his parents to worry. He had to fight. But how? One morning, an old man came to their house. He had white hair, deep eyes, and a gentle smile. "I have heard about Aiden," he said. "I want to see him." His parents let him in. The old man sat beside Aiden and held his hand. "You are very strong," he said. Aiden sighed. "Everyone says that, but I don't feel strong." The old man nodded. "Do you know what makes a tree stand tall?" Aiden thought for a moment. "Its roots?" "Yes," the old man said. "And where are the roots?" "In the ground." "Exactly." The old man smiled. "We don't see them, but they are there, holding the tree, giving it strength. Your strength is inside you, even if you don't see it." Aiden listened carefully. "I will tell you a secret," the old man said. "The body listens to the heart. If the heart believes, the body follows." Aiden blinked. "You mean, if I believe I can walk again, I will?" The old man nodded. "It will not be easy, but if you truly believe, and if you try, step by step, you will." Aiden felt something warm in his chest. Hope. Real hope. From that day, he decided to fight. He moved his fingers, then his hands. He tried to sit up. It was hard, very hard. Sometimes he wanted to give up, but then he remembered the bird. It wanted to fly, and he wanted to walk. Mia visited every day. She made him laugh. She told him stories. She even brought the bird, which was getting better. "See?" she said one day. "It's flapping its wings." Aiden watched the bird. If it could heal, so could he. Weeks passed, then months. Slowly, Aiden started moving more. First, he sat up by himself. Then, he stood with help. One day, he took a small step. It felt like magic. Tears filled his mother's eyes. "You did it, my son." The old man visited again. "I knew you could." Aiden smiled. "Because I believed," Mia cheered. "And because you never gave up." One morning, the bird flew from Mia's hands. It spread its wings and rose in two. The sky. Aiden watched, his heart full of joy. It's flying, he whispered. Yes, Mia said, just like you. Aiden knew he still had a long way to go, but now, he believed in himself. He had learned something powerful: our hearts hold a strength greater than any illness. And as long as we believe, we can rise again. This story teaches us that even in our weakest moments, we can find strength inside us. Never lose hope. Never stop believing. Because one day, just like Aiden and the little bird, we will fly. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more beautiful and inspiring stories. Your support means everything. Aiden's journey did not end there. Every day, he pushed himself a little more. His legs still felt weak sometimes, but he never let that stop him. His father built a wooden walking stick for him, and his mother helped him practice walking around their small garden. One afternoon, as Aiden took a few slow steps, he heard laughter. It was the village children playing near the big oak tree. For months, he had only watched them from his window. A deep longing filled his heart. He wanted to run again. Mia noticed his sad expression. You will play with them soon, she said. Aiden nodded, but inside, doubt still whispered. What if I never run again? Mia held his hand. Then we will find another way to be happy. But I believe you will run. Aiden looked into her eyes. They were full of trust, full of belief. He decided to borrow some of that belief and make it his own. Weeks passed. Then one day, something magical happened. Aiden was sitting under the tree in his garden, watching the wind dance through the leaves. The sky was bright, and the world felt alive. He felt a strange energy in his body, something he hadn't felt in a long time. Without thinking, he pushed himself up and took a step forward without the walking stick. His mother gasped, Aiden, you're walking. Aiden froze, realizing what had happened. He had done it. He had taken a step without help. Tears rolled down his mother's cheeks as she ran to hug him. My boy, you are a miracle. Aiden felt warmth spread in his chest. He had been afraid for so long, but now he knew he could do this. That evening, Mia and the village children came to visit. Aiden stood up, carefully but proudly. Watch this, he said. He took 3 steps forward. The children cheered, and Mia clapped her hands, her eyes shining with happiness. You did it, she said. I did it, Aiden whispered to himself, feeling stronger than ever before. From that day, Aiden practiced harder. He walked farther. Each morning, even when his legs ached, his father built him small wooden bars to hold on to while training. Some days were painful. Some nights, he cried in frustration. But he never stopped. And then, the day arrived. It was a bright morning. The village children were playing near the oak tree as usual. Aiden watched them, took a deep breath, and let go of his walking stick. Step by step, he moved forward. His heart pounded, but he kept going. 1 step, 2 steps, 3. Then without thinking, he ran. His feet hit the ground. His arms moved. The wind brushed against his face. He was running. He was really running. The children saw him and screamed in joy. Aiden, you're running. Mia ran toward him, and Aiden laughed, his heart full of pure happiness. His parents stood near their house, tears in their eyes, watching their son do what once seemed impossible. Aiden finally stopped, breathing hard, but smiling wider than ever before. He had done it. That night, the old man visited again. He sat beside Aiden and smiled. I told you, he said. Your strength was always inside you. Aiden nodded. I understand now. It was never just my body that was weak. It was my fear. Once I let go of that, I could run. The old man placed a hand on Aiden's shoulder. And now, you will never stop. From that day on, Aiden was unstoppable. He ran, played, and even climbed trees with Mia. His life was filled with laughter and joy, but more than that, he carried a new strength in his heart, one that would never fade. And whenever someone in the village felt lost or weak, Aiden would tell them his story. He would remind them of the little bird that learned to fly again. He would remind them that no matter how dark the days seemed, there was always light ahead, because as long as you believe in yourself, anything is possible. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing and inspiring stories. Your support helps keep these stories alive. As the days passed, Aiden's story spread across the village. People spoke of the boy who could not walk but learned to run again. His story became a symbol of hope for everyone. One day, an old woman came to visit him. She had kind eyes and a soft voice. "Aiden," she said, "I heard about your journey. My grandson, Leo, is sick. He has stopped believing he will ever be happy again. Will you come and talk to him?" Aiden looked at Mia, who nodded. "Of course, we will go," he said. They walked to a small house on the edge of the village. Inside, a boy about Aiden's age lay in bed. His face was pale, his eyes filled with sadness. Aiden sat beside him. "Hi, Leo," he said. Leo turned his face away. "I don't want to talk," he mumbled. Aiden smiled. "That's okay. I'll just sit here." He looked around the room and saw paper and pencils on the table. "Do you like to draw?" Leo hesitated, then nodded slowly. Mia picked up a pencil. "Let's all draw something." She handed a paper to Leo, one to Aiden, and kept one for herself. Aiden started drawing a bird. Leo watched him quietly. "Do you know why I'm drawing a bird?" Aiden asked. Leo shook his head. "Because I once saw a bird with a broken wing," Aiden said. "Everyone thought it would never fly again, but it did." Leo's fingers tightened around his pencil. "How?" "Because it wanted to," Mia said softly. Leo looked down at his blank paper, then slowly, he started to draw. He drew a small bird with one broken wing. As he colored it in, something in his eyes changed. A little light returned. That night, Aiden told his mother about Leo. "I want to help him, just like people helped me," he said. His mother smiled and kissed his forehead. "That is the heart of a true warrior, my son." The next day, Aiden and Mia returned to Leo's house. They brought a small wooden bird Aiden's father had carved. "This is for you," Aiden said. Leo took the bird in his hands, tracing the smooth wood with his fingers. "It's beautiful." Aiden leaned closer. "Every time you feel like giving up, hold this bird and remember it will fly. And so will you." Tears welled in Leo's eyes. He nodded. Days turned into weeks. Little by little, Leo started smiling again. He began sitting up, then walking around his house. One day, he joined Aiden and Mia outside. The sun shone on his face, and he laughed for the first time in a long time. Aiden looked at him with pride. He had helped someone the way he had once needed help. That night, as he lay in bed, he thought about everything he had been through. The pain, the fear, the struggle. But now, he understood his journey was never just about himself. It was about helping others find their own strength. And so, Aiden made a promise to himself. He would share his story with as many people as he could. He would remind them that no matter how hard life gets, there is always hope. Because in the end, it is not just about healing the body. It is about healing the heart. And that is where true strength lives. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Every story has the power to change a life, and your support helps keep these stories alive. As Aiden's story continued to spread, something incredible began to happen. People from nearby villages started coming to meet him. Some were sick, some had lost hope, and others just needed to hear his words. One evening, an old man with tired eyes knocked on Aiden's door. "I have walked many miles to meet you," he said. "I have heard about your journey. I once had dreams, but life took them away from me. Do you think it is too late for me to start again?" Aiden smiled gently. "It is never too late," he said. The old man sighed. "But I am not young like you. My body is weak." Aiden thought for a moment. "Do you know what is stronger than the body?" The old man shook his head. "The spirit," Aiden said. "If your spirit is strong, you can begin again, no matter how old you are." Tears filled the old man's eyes. "You are wise beyond your years, child." That night, Aiden sat outside under the stars. He realized something powerful: his pain, his struggles, and his healing had all led him to this moment. He was not just a boy who had recovered from a strange illness. He was someone who could give others hope. One day, Mia came running to him. "Aiden, the village chief wants to see you." Aiden's heart pounded. Why would the chief call him? When he arrived at the chief's house, he saw a group of villagers waiting. The chief stood up and smiled. "Aiden, you have changed many lives with your story. You have given us hope when we needed it most. We want to honor you." Aiden's eyes widened. "Honor me?" The chief nodded. "We will build a place where people who have lost hope can come and find strength again. A place where they can learn that they are not alone. And we will name it after you." Aiden felt his heart swell with emotion. He looked at Mia, who was beaming with pride. Then he looked at his parents, who had tears in their eyes. "But I am just a boy," Aiden said softly. The chief smiled. "You are more than that, Aiden. You are a light in the darkness." Aiden took a deep breath. He had never imagined something like this, but now he knew his purpose. "I accept," he said, "and I promise I will continue to help others, just as others once helped me." And so, a small home was built near the river, where people could come to heal, to believe, and to find their strength again. Aiden would sit with them, listen to their stories, and remind them of one simple truth: no matter how hard life gets, no matter how broken we feel, there is always hope, because even the smallest wings can still learn to fly. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Every person has a story, and sometimes all it takes is one story to change a life.